Tyler Mitchell, a 17-year-old high school senior, lived in one of the toughest neighborhoods in Brooklyn. Raised by a single mother who juggled two jobs to keep food on the table, Tyler knew what it meant to struggle. His life was a daily grind, working odd jobs after school, washing cars, delivering groceries, and occasionally helping people carry their bags just to make a few extra bucks. Tyler wasn't expecting much from life. All he wanted was to survive, help his mom, and maybe, just maybe, go to college one day. But those dreams felt like distant stars, far out of reach. One bitterly cold evening, after another long shift, Tyler's routine was interrupted. Walking down a quiet street on his way home, he noticed something glinting in the dim streetlight. A sleek black leather wallet, discarded on the sidewalk. It didn't belong in a place like this, and Tyler knew instantly that it was worth a lot more than his entire week's paycheck. He hesitated, his eyes flickering with temptation. The wallet was heavy, undoubtedly stuffed with cash, but Tyler knew better than to take what wasn't his. He'd been raised to always do the right thing, even when no one was watching. Tyler stood frozen on the sidewalk, the wallet in his hand, the weight of the situation bearing down on him. His fingers tingled with the promise of what was inside. Cash, maybe more than he'd seen in his entire life. His heart raced as his thoughts collided. He could feel the cold night air biting at his skin, but it was nothing compared to the storm inside him. The temptation was overwhelming. Just a few moments ago, he was trudging home from another exhausting shift, counting the pennies in his pocket and hoping there was enough left for a meal. But now, in his hands, was something that could change everything. He'd always dreamed of a better life, a life where he didn't have to work from dawn till dusk, a life where his mother didn't have to tire herself to the bone. This wallet could be his ticket to that life. But then, doubt crept in. What if someone was looking for it? What if it belonged to someone who desperately needed it? He tried to shake the thoughts away, but they lingered, gnawing at him. It wasn't just about the money. There was something else about the wallet. The design, the way it looked so out of place on the cracked, weathered pavement. It felt wrong. Tyler looked around. The street was eerily quiet, the hum of the city distant, as though the world had paused, waiting for him to decide. He tucked the wallet under his jacket and continued walking, his pace quickening as he considered his options. "Just take it," a voice in his head whispered. "No one will know. It'll be gone before anyone even realizes it's missing." His stomach twisted. His mother needed medicine, rent was due, the list of reasons to keep it was endless, and each one felt more urgent than the last. He could pay his debts, buy new clothes, maybe even save enough for college. All he had to do was keep walking. But then came the flashbacks, the ones he couldn't shake, the memory of his father's words from when he was just a boy. "Do the right thing, son, even if it costs you everything." Tyler's father had worked hard his entire life, only to be robbed of his dreams by a senseless accident. The last thing his father had told him was to live with honor. "No one will remember the things you didn't do," he'd said, "but they'll remember the ones you did." Tyler's hand shook, and for a moment he wanted to ignore it all, the temptation, the fear, and the desire. He needed to think. He looked down at the wallet again, studying it. There was no name, no ID to identify the owner. It was just an object, like any other. But then he noticed something, a small gold emblem on the back of the wallet, a symbol he recognized from TV ads and headlines. The name on the emblem was faint, but it was unmistakable. D. Stone. Darius Stone. The name struck Tyler like a bolt of lightning. Darius Stone was a billionaire, one of the wealthiest men in the world. He was a business mogul known for his investment empire and extravagant lifestyle. Tyler had seen his face on billboards, heard his name in news reports, but this was different. A billionaire's wallet lying in the street, discarded like garbage. It didn't make sense. The mystery of it all deepened. How had it ended up here? Why was it just sitting in the gutter, waiting for someone to find it? Tyler could feel his pulse quicken. This was no ordinary lost wallet. This was something far more significant, and the very thought of returning it to the billionaire made Tyler's heart race even faster. But he couldn't just leave it there, not after seeing the name. There was too much on the line. His curiosity, now ignited, burned brighter than the urge to take it. He had to return it. There was something about this wallet, this name, that felt too important to ignore. And so, with a final glance at the empty street, Tyler made his decision. He would find Darius Stone. Tyler's heart hammered in his chest as he stared at the wallet in his hands. He had made the decision. He couldn't just keep walking, not with the weight of it all hanging over him. The name D. Stone echoed in his mind, like a ticking clock urging him forward, but with every step, the reality of what he was about to do hit him harder. Returning a billionaire's wallet wasn't something people from his neighborhood did, especially not someone like him, an unremarkable kid with no connections, no future, just a dream too far out of reach. But now the universe had thrown this at him, and there was no turning back. He walked briskly through the city's streets, making his way toward the towering office building where Darius Stone's company was headquartered. The sharp, cold air seemed to close in on him, his thoughts swirling as he tried to prepare himself for the confrontation ahead. He had no idea what to expect, but deep down, he knew this was a moment that could change everything. As he approached the building, Tyler's stomach twisted into knots. The sleek glass structure loomed in front of him, casting long shadows in the dim evening light. A few well-dressed people entered and exited, and Tyler suddenly felt out of place. His worn jacket, his scuffed shoes, his appearance a stark contrast to the polished professionals who moved through the lobby like they owned the place. He hesitated at the door. Was this a mistake? Who was he, a poor kid from the streets, to walk into a billionaire's office and return his lost property? What would Stone think of him? Would he even care? The questions piled up, but Tyler pushed them down. He stepped inside, the cold air of the city now replaced by the warm, sterile atmosphere of the building. The receptionist looked up from her desk, her gaze lingering on him for a moment longer than usual. Tyler felt the judgment in her eyes, the unspoken question of why someone like him was there. But he stood tall, forcing the uncertainty from his expression. He approached the desk with purpose, placing the wallet gently on the counter. I found this, Tyler said, his voice sounding smaller than he intended. The receptionist blinked, clearly surprised by the sight of him. She didn't take the wallet immediately. Instead, she raised an eyebrow and scanned him from head to toe, her lips pursing slightly. Tyler shifted on his feet, feeling the weight of her scrutiny. "Are you sure this is yours to return?" she asked, her tone more curious than accusing. Tyler nodded, his nerves settling as he realized this was real. There was no turning back. "I found it on the sidewalk. I know it's important." She sighed, picking up the phone with a slow, deliberate movement. Tyler's stomach clenched. What if she was calling security? What if they kicked him out, or worse, called the cops? "Mr. Stone will want to see you," the receptionist finally said, her expression unreadable. She motioned for him to follow. Tyler's legs felt like lead as he followed her through the gleaming hallways, each step echoing in the quiet space. The floors beneath his feet were polished marble, the walls lined with expensive art and statues. He felt like an imposter in a world that wasn't meant for someone like him. They reached a set of heavy double doors, and the receptionist knocked lightly before pushing them open. Inside, the room was massive. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed a stunning view of the city skyline, and Darius Stone sat behind a large wooden desk, his face calm and unreadable. The billionaire looked every bit the part, expensive suit, impeccable grooming, and a presence that seemed to fill the room. "Mr. Mitchell, I presume?" Stone's voice was smooth, but his eyes had a sharpness to them, as if he had already sized Tyler up and found him wanting. Tyler swallowed, his throat dry. "Yes, sir, I found your wallet," he said, his words suddenly feeling clumsy. Stone looked at the wallet Tyler held out, his gaze flickering briefly with curiosity before returning to Tyler's face. "I see. Thank you for returning it." The tension in the room thickened as Tyler stood there, wondering what would happen next. Would Stone just thank him and be done with it? Or was there something more to this moment? Something deeper? The silence in Darius Stone's office stretched like a heavy curtain, draping over Tyler's shoulders. The words he had been rehearsing in his mind now seemed irrelevant. Stone had accepted the wallet, but Tyler had no idea what was expected of him next. Would the billionaire thank him and move on? Would he offer a reward? Maybe money or something else? The possibility of a life-changing gesture flickered in Tyler's mind, but it was quickly drowned out by doubt. Darius Stone sat back in his leather chair, his eyes still focused on the wallet. Tyler's fingers trembled slightly, holding the small piece of leather that felt like a symbol of everything he could never have. The weight of the moment was unbearable, but Tyler stood firm, trying not to let his anxiety show. "Tell me, Tyler," Stone's voice broke the silence, smooth and controlled. "Why did you return this? Most people wouldn't have." Tyler's heart skipped a beat. The question caught him off guard. He had expected some form of gratitude, but now Stone was probing deeper, asking something personal, something that had nothing to do with the wallet. I couldn't keep it," Tyler said, his voice steady despite the storm inside. "My father, he taught me that doing the right thing is important, even when it's hard. I don't know why I found it, but I knew I couldn't just walk away from it." The words were simple, but they felt like a confession. The weight of his father's legacy had never felt heavier than it did right now. Tyler could feel the ghost of his father beside him, whispering words of wisdom that Tyler had tried to live by, even when the world seemed determined to make him forget them. Stone regarded him with quiet intensity, his eyes narrowing as if he was searching for something deeper. Tyler shifted uncomfortably under the billionaire's gaze, but he didn't look away. There was something magnetic about Stone, something that drew you in, but also made you feel as if you were being judged on a scale far larger than you could ever comprehend. "Integrity," Stone mused, his voice low. "It's a rare thing these days, but I see something in you, Tyler. Something more than just a kid who found my wallet. You remind me of myself when I was younger, before I had all of this." He gestured around the room at the wealth and power that surrounded them. "Back then, I believed that doing the right thing would bring me success, but I quickly learned that the world doesn't reward honesty. It rewards ruthlessness." Tyler swallowed hard. He wasn't sure if he was being judged or praised, but Stone's words hit him with the force of 1,000 unspoken lessons. He couldn't fathom the billionaire's past, couldn't imagine what it must have been like to go from nothing to owning everything. But something about Stone's tone, the wariness in his voice, made Tyler wonder if maybe there was more to success than just doing whatever it took to win. "I want to offer you something," Stone continued, leaning forward slightly, his eyes never leaving Tyler's. "A chance to prove that integrity can still matter in this world, but it won't be easy." Tyler's pulse quickened. His mind raced with possibilities, each one more grandiose than the last. Was Stone offering him money, a job, something he'd only dreamed about? But as Stone spoke, Tyler felt his doubts creep in again. What was the catch? Stone reached into a drawer and pulled out a sleek black business card. "You have potential, Tyler, a lot of it. But potential means nothing without the right opportunity. This is your chance." Tyler's eyes narrowed as he took the card. The name on it, Darius Stone, was printed in bold, clean letters, but the address beneath it was one Tyler recognized instantly, one of the top law firms in the city, a place known for its elite clientele. His mind was racing, trying to process what this meant. "I want you to meet with my people," Stone said. "They'll guide you, but only if you're willing to work for it. You'll have to prove yourself, and it will take everything you've got. No handouts, just hard work. If you succeed, you'll have access to a world that's far beyond anything you've ever imagined." Tyler's breath caught in his throat. A chance, a real chance. For a moment, the room seemed to shrink, the weight of the offer pressing down on him. Was he ready? Could he truly step into a world like this? Was he willing to leave everything he knew behind? And then, as if to answer his own question, Tyler knew. This was the opportunity of a lifetime. This was his moment to change his future, to rise above everything that had held him back. With a quiet nod, Tyler accepted the card. The rest of the world could wait. Right now, it was all about proving himself. The weeks that followed were a blur for Tyler. His life had been turned upside down in ways he hadn't fully grasped. The card Darius Stone had given him wasn't just a business card, it was an invitation to a completely different world. one that he had only seen through the glossy pages of magazines or on the TV screen. Stone's offer wasn't just an opportunity for a better life, it was a challenge, a test. And every day Tyler felt the weight of it. At first, things seemed promising. Stone's people had set him up with a series of meetings, introductions to high-powered professionals, and the promise of mentorship. Tyler worked harder than he ever had before, his ambition propelling him through long, sleepless nights. He studied finance, marketing, negotiation tactics, anything that would help him understand the world Stone had invited him into. The learning curve was steep, and at times Tyler felt like he was drowning in a sea of unfamiliar terms and expectations. But each time the doubt threatened to overwhelm him, he remembered why he was doing this. For his mother. For a future that wasn't defined by struggle and sacrifice. But as the days passed, something started to shift. Tyler had always known that success came with sacrifices, but the sacrifices he was making now felt like they were costing him more than he could afford. He was pulled away from his friends, his community, everything that had once grounded him. The more he immersed himself in Stone's world, the more disconnected he became from everything he had known. There were times when he would sit in the back of a sleek black car on his way to another high-stakes meeting and think of his mother, working tirelessly at home, or of the old neighborhood where people still looked out for each other. In one particularly hard moment, Tyler found himself at a crossroads. He had been asked to present a proposal at a major business event, one that Stone had invited him to. It was his chance to make a real mark in front of some of the most powerful people in the city. But the proposal wasn't his. It was a project that Stone had handed to him, expecting him to pitch it as if it were his own. The idea was brilliant, innovative, profitable, but there was something nagging at Tyler. He didn't feel proud of it. He didn't feel connected to it. And he couldn't ignore the growing sense of unease in his gut. Was he losing himself in this world? Was he selling out just for the promise of success? The integrity that had once guided him, that had made him return the wallet in the first place, now seemed like a distant memory. Every meeting felt like a test of his morals, every deal a reminder of how far he was willing to go to be accepted into this new life. Then the crisis came. Tyler was sitting in a meeting with Stone's inner circle when the conversation turned to a potential partnership with a major tech company. The deal was enormous. Billions of dollars were at stake. But as the discussion progressed, Tyler realized something that sent a cold shiver down his spine. The deal involved the manipulation of a smaller company, a startup that had poured everything into creating a breakthrough product. The plan was to buy the startup at a fraction of its worth, take its technology, and shut it down. Tyler could feel his chest tighten. This wasn't business. This was exploitation. He had seen this kind of thing happen before in his neighborhood, but it was always someone else doing the dirty work. Now he was sitting at the table, part of the machine that would crush another dream for the sake of profit. The weight of it all hit him like a truck. This wasn't the life he had imagined when he returned the wallet. This wasn't the integrity his father had taught him to uphold. In that moment, Tyler realized the truth. He had come too far into this world to turn back, but he had lost the very thing that had gotten him here, his soul. He left the meeting early, walking out into the crisp night air, his mind spinning. He wasn't sure what to do anymore. He had everything within his grasp, but the cost of it was starting to feel too high. Was he ready to make the ultimate sacrifice for success, or was there another path he could take, one that didn't require him to lose everything he believed in? The answer wasn't clear, but for the first time since he had stepped into Darius Stone's world, Tyler wasn't sure he even wanted the answer. He only knew one thing: something had to change. Tyler walked the city streets late that night, his mind racing with the weight of his decision. The towering skyline around him, the same one that had once felt so distant, now felt like a prison. The gleaming lights, the promises of wealth, and the allure of success all felt like illusions. He had worked so hard to get to this point, but now, standing on the edge of it all, he realized that the price was far higher than he had ever imagined. The events of the last few weeks replayed in his mind, each moment heavier than the last. Darius Stone had offered him everything: opportunity, mentorship, and a glimpse into a world few could ever access. But now Tyler was torn between the man he had been and the man he was becoming. The integrity that had once driven him to return the wallet, the very thing that had set him apart, was slipping away like sand through his fingers. In its place was a new version of himself, one who had learned how to navigate the ruthless world of business, but at what cost? He stopped at the edge of the Brooklyn Bridge, the wind whipping through his hair as he gazed out at the city below. It was so easy to get lost in the noise, in the ambition, in the success. But tonight, the noise had quieted. All that remained were the voices in his head, the ones that told him to keep pushing forward, to take what was being offered, to accept the world that had been handed to him. But there was another voice, softer, but far more insistent. It was the voice of his father, the voice that had always told him to do the right thing, no matter the cost. You can't buy your way to happiness, Tyler. Success isn't measured by money or power. It's measured by the choices you make, the lives you touch, the honor you keep. Tyler's chest tightened as he heard his father's words, so clear and real in the silence of the night. He had come so far, but the journey had changed him. The man who had once returned a billionaire's wallet was slipping away, replaced by someone who wasn't sure where the line between ambition and compromise lay anymore. But in that moment, standing on the Brooklyn Bridge, Tyler realized that he had one final choice to make. He could keep going down this path, take the deal, climb the ladder, and become part of the very machine he had sworn he would never be a part of. He could follow Stone's advice, push others aside, and step over anyone who got in his way. But deep down, Tyler knew that would never bring him peace. It would never bring him the life he wanted, the life his father had dreamed of for him. With a deep breath, Tyler made his decision. He turned around and walked back toward the city, toward the life he had left behind. It wasn't going to be easy. He didn't know what the future held, but he knew one thing for sure: he couldn't betray himself for the sake of success. The next morning, Tyler called Darius Stone. He knew the conversation would be difficult, but it was the only way forward. Stone answered the phone with his usual calm tone, but there was something different in Tyler's voice. It wasn't the uncertainty or fear he had once felt. It was resolve. "Mr. Stone," Tyler said, "I can't do it. I can't go down that road. I came to you for a chance, but I can't trade my integrity for success. I'm sorry." There was silence on the other end of the line. Tyler's heart pounded as he waited for Stone's response. "You're making a mistake, Tyler," Stone finally said, his voice cool but with an edge of disappointment. "This is the real world. You can't afford to play by rules that don't exist here." "I understand," Tyler replied, his voice steady, "but I have to live with myself. I'm not willing to lose who I am." As he hung up the phone, a weight lifted off his shoulders. He didn't know what came next, but for the first time in weeks, Tyler felt like himself again. He had made the decision to remain true to his values, to the lessons his father had taught him. Success could come in many forms, but honor, real honor, was something that could never be bought. And with that, Tyler walked away from the life he had been given, ready to build his future on his own terms. The days after Tyler's decision were a whirlwind of emotions. Walking away from Darius Stone's world felt like leaving behind a dream, one that had promised everything he had ever wanted: wealth, influence, and security. But what Tyler had gained in return was something far more precious: peace of mind and the knowledge that he had stayed true to who he was, even when the world tried to pull him in another direction. Tyler returned to his old life, but it wasn't the same. The familiar streets of Brooklyn, the cluttered apartment he shared with his mother, now felt different, not because they had changed, but because he had. The struggle was still there: the constant grind to make ends meet, the worry over his mother's health, the doubt about his future, but Tyler no longer felt burdened by it. He had learned something crucial in the past few weeks. The value of integrity wasn't in the rewards it brought, but in the strength it gave you when you faced the hardest decisions. The phone calls from Stone's people stopped coming. The glossy invitations to lavish events, the promises of networking opportunities, all faded into the background. At first, Tyler had worried about what he was giving up. The uncertainty was terrifying. How could he ever succeed in a world that valued power over honesty? How could he build a future when the doors to success were closed to him? But as time passed, Tyler found his answer. One evening, Tyler sat at his kitchen table, the quiet hum of the apartment surrounding him, when his mother walked in, holding a small envelope. It was from the city's most prestigious university, an acceptance letter. Tyler had applied on a whim, never expecting to be accepted. It wasn't a full scholarship, but it was the first step toward something bigger, something that could change his life without compromising his values. Tears welled in his eyes as he read the letter. It wasn't just the acceptance that moved him. It was the realization that despite the obstacles, despite walking away from what seemed like the chance of a lifetime, he had found a path forward. A path built on honesty, hard work, and the belief that he could still make a difference, even without compromising who he was. The next day, Tyler took his mother out to lunch. They sat at a small diner, just like the ones they had visited when times were tough. The place was familiar, comforting, but today there was a new light in the air. Tyler shared the news with his mother, and for the first time in a long time, she didn't just smile at his success. She saw the man he was becoming, a man who had chosen to stand for something, even when it meant standing alone. Tyler still had a long way to go, but he was no longer afraid. He had learned that success wasn't just about what you achieved, it was about how you achieved it. In his heart, he knew that he had made the right choice, and that feeling of knowing you did the right thing no matter the cost was worth more than any billion-dollar deal or extravagant lifestyle. He continued his work, studied harder than ever, and embraced every challenge with a renewed sense of purpose. The path ahead was uncertain, but for the first time, Tyler wasn't afraid of the unknown. He had learned that true success was not found in what you gained, but in what you chose to keep, and he had kept his integrity. Tyler didn't need Darius Stone's world to be successful. He just needed to be true to himself. And in that truth, he had found something far more powerful than wealth. He had found freedom. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and leave a comment below. Let us know your thoughts. Do you think Tyler made the right decision? Share your opinions and join the conversation. Don't forget to stay tuned for more stories that will inspire and captivate you.